Welcome back to History of Simple Things. Today's topic comes from one of our viewers, Kui Ming Lin. Thanks for the suggestion. You asked, what exactly are bay leaves? Imagine pulling a simmering pot of soup closer, lifting the lid, and being greeted by a rich, comforting aroma that feels somehow deeper than the ingredients you can actually see. There's a warmth, a subtle complexity, something almost mysterious. And yet, floating quietly on the surface is a stiff, unassuming leaf that most people will never eat, often removing it before serving without a second thought. That leaf is the bay leaf. But what exactly are bay leaves, and why do they hold such an important place in kitchens all around the world? Let's explore right here on History of Simple Things. At their core, bay leaves come from a specific plant known as Laurus nobilis, commonly referred to as the bay laurel. This evergreen tree is native to the Mediterranean region, where it has been cultivated and revered for thousands of years. The leaves are harvested, dried, and then used as a seasoning in cooking. Unlike many herbs that are used fresh and consumed directly, bay leaves are typically used whole and removed before eating due to their tough texture and sharp edges. But despite their humble appearance, they pack a surprisingly complex flavor profile. When you taste a bay leaf on its own, it might not seem particularly impressive. In fact, many people find it slightly bitter or even underwhelming. But the magic of bay leaves doesn't lie in their standalone flavor. It lies in how they transform during cooking. When simmered slowly in liquids like soups, stews, sauces, or broths, bay leaves release a subtle blend of earthy, herbal, and slightly floral notes. These flavors don't overpower a dish. Instead, they enhance everything else, creating a deeper and more rounded taste. It's the culinary equivalent of background music, barely noticeable on its own, but essential to the overall experience. Historically, bay leaves have carried significance far beyond the kitchen. In ancient Greece and Rome, the bay laurel tree was a symbol of honor, victory, and wisdom. Victorious athletes, poets, and leaders were crowned with laurel wreaths made from its leaves. The term baccalaureate, for example, is believed to originate from the Latin phrase meaning laurel berries, linking academic achievement to this ancient symbol of distinction. Over time, the practical use of bay leaves in cooking spread alongside their symbolic importance, embedding them deeply into culinary traditions across Europe, Asia, and beyond. There are actually several types of bay leaves used around the world, and they're not all the same. The most common variety, known as Turkish or Mediterranean bay leaf, comes from Laurus nobilis and is prized for its balanced and subtle flavor. In contrast, the so-called Indian bay leaf, often used in South Asian cuisine, comes from a completely different plant and has a flavor profile closer to cinnamon and cloves. This distinction is important because substituting one for the other can dramatically change the taste of a dish. One of the reasons bay leaves are so widely used is their versatility. They can be added to a variety of dishes, from hearty meat stews and tomato sauces to rice dishes, and even some desserts. In Filipino cuisine, for instance, bay leaves, locally known as dahon ng laurel, are a key ingredient in dishes like adobo. where they contribute to the dish's savory depth. Despite being used in such small quantities, their absence is often noticeable, leaving the dish tasting slightly flatter or incomplete. But what exactly is happening on a chemical level? Bay leaves contain essential oils such as eucalyptol, myrcene, and linalool. These compounds are responsible for their aroma and flavor. When heated, these oils are gradually released into the dish, infusing it with their distinctive qualities. This slow release is why bay leaves are best suited for long cooking processes. Tossing one into a quick sauté won't have the same effect as letting it simmer gently for an hour. Interestingly, bay leaves have also been used in traditional medicine. In various cultures, they've been believed to aid digestion, reduce inflammation, and even improve respiratory health. While modern science has explored some of these claims, bay leaves are still primarily valued for their culinary contributions rather than their medicinal properties. Still, it's fascinating to think that this simple leaf has been appreciated for both its flavor and its potential health benefits for centuries. Despite their widespread use, bay leaves are often misunderstood or underestimated. Some home cooks question whether they actually make a difference, especially since the flavor they impart is so subtle. But chefs and experienced cooks will tell you that bay leaves are one of those ingredients you notice most when they're missing. They act as a kind of flavor bridge, tying together different components of a dish and enhancing the overall harmony. In the end, bay leaves are a perfect example of how something small and seemingly insignificant can have a profound impact. They don't demand attention, they don't dominate a dish, and they're rarely eaten directly, yet their presence quietly elevates the food we love, adding layers of flavor that might otherwise be missing. So the next time you spot a bay leaf floating in your soup or stew, don't just see it as something to remove before serving. Instead, recognize it for what it truly is, a subtle but essential ingredient that has been enhancing meals and even symbolizing greatness for thousands of years. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.